welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Penslinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello, I am here again.
Yes, as usual. So, since we are still in lockdown here in Melbourne, I think we will continue our little game from last week where we sort of add some confines, some restrictions to our games. And we're going to play Click Pitch, but every game is going to have just a single, fairly small location that it's based in.
It worked pretty well last week when, at the final hour, I got asked to do an edit, which is why Ben's introing this episode again, because I'm not doing 3 edits in a row.
Yeah. Look, lockdown has been hard on all of us in different ways, and it was a particularly tricky one. But, it did work well. We'll try not to maybe spend 45 minutes or close to on one game. Or maybe we will. It was
one of the better games that we've come up with. So,
yeah,
if it happens again, it happens again.
Yeah. So, Trev, do you want to tell our listening audience about Click Pitch, and then we'll jump in?
Ramped Up Click Pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator which produces us an adjective and a noun. We take those two words, we throw them at each other, we come up with a game design. If we get bored of it, we stop doing it and we do it again. Or if we don't, we go for 45 minutes. You never know what you're going to do.
Just depends on how deep we want to go. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, click.
Cellular transform.
Ooh. Postponed prototype.
Ooh. Okay.
That's a fun little
rather than
combo.
The typical way of taking cellular, which was, microscopic and all this sort of stuff, I was sort of thinking one of the things that I hated about when that storm hit was when the cellular towers went down. So my idea is it's someone at home looking outside only to see their cellular tower transform into a robot and walk away. Then it's kind of like they're stuck in this place, no internet, and they're freaking out, and you get that sort of lockdown, isolation, or they're quarantined in, but they can't contact the outside world.
All right. I think we can go with that. I like the idea then that if their cellular tower is a robot, then perhaps their cellular phone as well turns out to be a robot. Now, because I was definitely going towards mobile phones, cellular phones. Which
is so weird because we don't actually call them cellular phones here. We call them mobile phones.
It was with transform and prototype, and then postpone prototype when it makes me think of some sort of release schedule or something, like building a new phone or something. So perhaps this person is some sort of engineer. Maybe they are building their own phones. Like their own tech out of phones, building them out of phones. They're trying to build the next generation phone, the prototype, and they've been trying for years. Hence postponed. Like they've been trying to build this thing. Maybe it's their prototype that somehow triggers the robot in the tower or something like that. I'm just sort of thinking of. I kind of like the idea of maybe being able to. You are locked in this place, you're stuck there for whatever reason, but you're controlling things on the outside. So maybe you get control over that robot with your prototype, right? And then you're doing things where you're watching this thing, this giant fucking Iron Giant style robot in the distance doing things, and you're sort of trying to guide it without being able to see what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. To make this a little bit easier to sort of see out, I'm thinking this is a city apartment, and you've got a balcony.
Okay. Yep.
And then you got a simple 1 bedroom place that has kind of a lounge room / kitchenette with a bedroom and bathroom sort of separate. You know, just off to the side. So it's a very small area, and I'm picturing in the lounge room, you've just got like components scattered everywhere, like all over the table, and you can easily have like on the news broadcast, it's like, and for the 17th day in a row, we're all to remain indoors.
Yeah, and I think I do like the idea that it's like a big storm as well, just for another incentive not to go outside. And just because there's so cool sort of visuals around giant robots being illuminated by lightning and stuff.
Yeah, but I think you're still able to go out onto your balcony.
You can go out on the balcony, but maybe there's some risk involved in that or something, right? Like, because of the storm, or you can only go out for a certain amount of time or something before the water, like, damages your components, or something like that, or you can't go out there with your, so we can build some things around, like, if you send it too far, you lose connection to it unless you like boost it in some way, and that part, that involves going out on the balcony sometimes. But if it's raining, you can't be out there for long. Like, I'm sort of thinking of those sort of mechanics around balancing up your ability to control. Like, it could almost be that if you're not controlling it, this robot is rampaging through the city, destroying shit. So you've figured out that with your components, you can gain some semblance of control over it sometimes, and you're just trying to rein it in as much as you can.
But using your prototype, you're also ionizing the atmosphere, which also adds, more storm activity around your area. So it's kind of like,
because you've had to boost the power of you've got a big like satellite dish outside on the balcony or something that's boosting it up there. Yeah.
There's something about obviously you have lightning strikes hitting down in front of your very very shallow viewing angle. Basically, you can only see X amount outside the. Yeah, well, outside until you get out onto the balcony, and then you can see about 180 degrees, and that's it. You can't see any further than that.
I kind of like the idea of this very much being almost a fly-by-wire kind of situation where I don't think the power goes. I don't think your cellular service goes out, but I think it's because I want that. Essentially, I want you to be able to be figuring out what is happening with this robot based on like things that are coming up on the news. Or like on your devices, you've got like a GPS view sort of thing that's flickering in and out, that you can control sometimes and tell it to go to this specific spot or whatever. And if it happens to move within your actual 3D view within the thing, you'll see it off there in the distance, fucking explosions coming up and stuff as it like steps on cars and blows them up or whatever. But a lot of the time you're having to do it kind of through these interfaces.
Oh, I'm imagining that there's going to be a breaking news report, and they start following the robot on the news. And so basically you're controlling it by watching the news report of the helicopter flying around. Yeah. But of course it's a couple of seconds out from when you're moving. So it's kind of like driving a boat where you do something and you're not sure for like a second whether it's taken effect.
Yeah, absolutely. You're having to like predict. It's like, oh shit, they're heading towards that bus full of people. All right, turn them to the right. But you might have done it too late. They still clip the bus and it explodes or whatever.
They trip over and go through the children's hospital.
I kind of like this as almost not quite a roguelike, but like a replayable thing where whether it could be a procedural city actually. But with some systems in place again of like they'll do the news reports and stuff, they'll do different things. It almost, if it generates the city, you've got different like areas of the city that it will go through. It's like, here's the industrial area, here's the commercial area, here's the residential area and stuff. And so it's all about like doing the least loss of life and least damage, while trying to gain control of this thing. And I kind of like the idea even of, I wonder if this might be a VR game, actually. Would work pretty well. Because I'm picturing, like, having to frantically, like, fucking solder shit together.
when it breaks.
Yeah, when something breaks or you realize, like, it could be that it escalates a bit. It's like, oh, it's gotten further away, so I need to add a new thing on or something like, or you can, it may even be that if you do almost do it as a roguelike sort of thing, it could just be you have a random assortment of things in your apartment that you can grab, and they'll have different effects. It's like, oh, this one actually gives me more control over it or whatever, or control for longer or something. This one has better battery power. It's not going to run, different things that you could build up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. It's got some similarities to our big 40 minute last game last time with the very systems based hooking things up. But I think that's just a really fun thing to be able to play with. There's a lot of potential there.
Yes. 3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. Predicted contention.
Buck kick.
Buck kick. Okay. Okay. Our protagonist is Buck Kickinson.
Well, when it said Buck kick, I just imagined like an apartment kind of like the last game, but instead of just being a normal lounge room, in the middle was one of those mechanical bulls. And
all right, no, okay, that's good though. Not an apartment, because that's ridiculous, but it is a funny thing. But I like the idea of it being in a bar.
Okay,
like everyone's trapped in a bar, and it's not locked down, like it's not COVID, because they shouldn't even be out of the bar. It's something else that's like trapped them in this bar. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a big like dangerous thing, like
a twister.
Yeah, it could be a weather thing, or it could just be a like almost like a malfunction or something, right? Like the automatic doors have all failed and they're not going to be able to fix it till the morning or something. Like there's just a certain amount of time that you're locked in this place. Because I kind of then like the idea, because you talked about the mechanical bull, I want that to be like, I want there to be a reason to have fun and just fuck around on a mechanical bull.
Okay. It's a bachelorette party.
Yep.
And it's a lock-in at this pub, basically.
Right. But they took it seriously of actually, literally.
Well, no, it's just that, you've paid extra to go out and have fun. It's you and all your friends, and that's it.
Yep.
And a mechanical bull. And what were your words?
Predicted contention.
Contentioned.
So, I mean, I think that can sort of just be like people at odds, right? Contending against each other in some way.
Okay. I'm imagining that you are maybe the either the bachelorette or the maid of honor.
Or like, yeah. I think the maid of honor makes sense.
And someone has turned up that wasn't originally invited, and you've only just found out, and you've got to try and keep them away somewhat from the bride-to-be, or at least now that the bride knows that she's there, you've got to keep her out of her hair.
Yeah, I think...
But she's a woo girl.
Woo! I think this is a game of personalities. It's a game of, as the player, learning who this group of people is and what the relationships are between them, and then solving problems in some way, like whether it's just keeping the peace or mediating between different people in maybe a bit of a sort of adventure game sort of way, where you're actually like, oh, they want this, like, or whatever, right? Like, talk to them, they want something, this person has it, but there's another step to take to get it from them. Even if it's an apology, or like it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical item.
Other characters in the game. Bartender.
Yep. It's like the one man in the room.
Yeah, but there's also a maintenance person on site for when the bull inevitably breaks.
For the bull, yeah. And then the bull technically is male. It's a bull, so
it's a bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, they have stuck a giant dong.
No, they just put truck nuts at the back. Like, they just hook the truck nuts on.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way that you could tell.
Yeah. It was the woo girl that did it. She's trying to make everything like raunchy, and she's totally drunk. Your friend's just like, no, this isn't the party we wanted.
I know what I felt when I was at my Bucks party. I wanted it to be, a nice, simple affair with just all my mates. I didn't want to go out to strippers or anything like that. And I'm just picturing, there were certain things that the Bachelorette has asked for, and that was no strippers. Just keep it between our friends. They
wanted a party. Like, they wanted it, the mechanical bull thing was a good idea. Like, that's something, that she finds fun and it's fun. But she doesn't want it this, like... She didn't want, like, dick-shaped straws and all that sort of bullshit that goes on.
So I'm imagining that when the strippers do turn up, because some of the other girls got a bit raunchy and they thought, okay,
let's... They, called them up.
Well, they'd organised it before without letting you know, and
right.
They're trying to get her incredibly drunk and all this sort of stuff. I'm picturing it kind of like one of our friends' Bucks parties where we were literally, trying to keep other people from doing certain things to our our friend.
Is this a bit more of? Do we add in a bit more of a spinning plates element then? Of like,
I think so.
You're literally having to divert trays of shots from the bride, and and the one place that they'll go that they're just always going to get down is to the woo girl, but then she's getting drunker and drunker, so that actually like ups her rambunctiousness, and she's like putting truck nuts all over the place and somehow pulling penis-shaped paraphernalia from God knows where.
And you literally
I didn't mean that in a dirty way.
You're literally wondering, how'd she get so many truck nuts? I didn't know where's she pulling these from?
How big is her bag? Do these things inflate? Like,
and they're getting bigger.
Wait, like...
No,
like each subsequent one is bigger?
Each subsequent one is bigger.
Okay. Not that she like puts them on and they're just slowly inflating.
That's a
all right, well, what are some of the other
on the ball? What
are some of the other personalities that are going on here then? Is there sort of a level of... Is there a bit of a balance between, okay, as you divert those shots, you can, like... If you pass them out to more people, like, everyone will be only slightly more drunk, or if you focus them on, the woo girl or anyone else, like, their drunkenness level goes up, and, each person could sort of have different things that they start doing the drunker they get.
Well, I'm picturing the groom's ex-girlfriend, who happens to also be, a good family friend of, the whole family. So therefore, she was
invited.
Mistakenly, well, not mistakenly, but she was invited. But she's now trying to break, right?
She's trying to like poison the well, like
poison the well,
turn the bride against the groom.
Just the more drunk that she gets, the more that she starts saying, oh, when we were together, he used to do this thing, and sort of like you had to try and pull, you got to try and pull her away so that she's not, talking about sexual situations with the groom and all this sort of stuff.
With the groom,
I think the jealous sister. That's another thing that you can sort of have where.
I think there are a lot of archetypes you can play with. So the jealous sister who. It's sort of the always a bridesmaid, never a bride situation.
Yep. I think you've got a few really nice girls as well, but they're not so much of a problem. I think in a game
I think in a game like this, everyone needs to have their thing, right? And we can play with some of the archetypes. We can subvert some of the archetypes. We're not trying to make just the ultra stereotypical bachelorette's party here, but the tropes, leaning into the tropes, also makes it. Part of the fun and recognizable as, something that people know. I
kind of want some of the typical tropey guy sort of things as well.
Yeah, from the bartender like trying to all the maintenance.
Well, I'm even thinking some of the tropey things of some of the girls that are kind of like a dude bro sort of,
I mean, yeah, like that totally happens. Like it's just sort of not as accepted, but definitely. There's like some that are competitive. There's like two girls who are just like ultra competitive, and you have like if you don't keep them off the mechanical bull for at least some of the night, they just like end up fist fighting.
But also don't let them go too crazy on the air hockey table, because that shit can cause many a cut.
Yeah. Maybe it could even be that you have to, like, break the mechanical bull sometimes to stop them from, stop some people from using it because they're getting too over the top. But then, like, there's a mechanical, there's a maintenance person there, like, he's going to come and fix it. So you have to, if you want to keep it down for longer, you have to somehow try to distract him from doing his job. Or, yeah, it's just this sort of, if we can create, again, just these interesting systems that interplay with each other. And affect each other in different ways.
Can you cause, like, an issue with the bar, so the bartender has to spend time, like, investigating why there's no wine coming out of the wine on tap, or whatever? Like,
wine on tap, yeah.
Oh, I know that's a thing.
Oh, yeah, I know, of course. Yes, yeah. Is that to, like, prevent alcohol from
going out for a little while?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it becomes this sort of constant stream of, I need a break from people getting drunk. Like, I need people to sober up a little bit, so I need to do something that's going to stop the alcohol for a while. It's like, but shit, now I've done that. They're all on the mechanical bull and, like, things are getting heated. Okay, now I need to move off of, I might have to let the alcohol come back in a sec, but I'm going to have to try to break the mechanical bull. And then, oh shit, like, these people are fighting over here because she got too drunk and, he's trying to break them. Like, yeah, so it becomes this whole thing, and you're essentially just trying to get through the night.
I think
it should be really hard to get to the end of the night
without, like, someone being cut or something.
I think there are certain things that just end the night, right? An actual serious fight breaking out. Certain things getting too broken, you get kicked out of the bar.
The bride getting her face smashed in on the bull because she was too drunk when she got onto it.
Yeah, yep. Funnily enough, and I mentioned this earlier, so I've been playing Mini Motorways, which is a very simple gameplay ideas, but gets very chaotic.
Is it done by the same people who made Mini Metro?
Yeah. It's essentially the follow-up. It's been out for quite a while on, I think, Apple Play or whatever the Apple Games stuff is that I don't have an Apple device, so there's all these great games that they friggin' bought the rights to. But anyway, it finally came out on Steam. It's really quite good. But yeah, in that you're essentially like, the whole thing is literally just connecting destination, like a big destination to houses. But they start being that you have to cross them over and then traffic occurs. I'm almost thinking it's like that. Like, it starts off pretty simple. You can, like, manage stuff, keep it down to a manageable level. Because you're only dealing with, maybe it's even that they show up over time. Like, when you get there, the bride's there, you're there, and, like, one other person maybe randomly is there.
As well as the manager of the
yeah.
I think the manager of the bar, the bartender, and the maintenance person, the manager leaves after an hour. And
right. Yeah.
And, he sort of says, I'll be back at, 5 o'clock in the morning just to
Well, and I think that almost changes... Yeah, I think that almost changes things up as well. Like, the moment the manager... It's almost... That's the end of the tutorial, almost. Or, like, of your, like, easy ramp in. Is it's like, that's the sign that things are going to start getting chaotic. Because then more people start showing up, or people start getting drunker, like, the levels sort of spike. And there's feedback, these cascading loops of chaos.
Okay. I've come up with a reason as to why the manager is going to leave, and it's because his wife goes into labour. So basically, he was planning on being there the whole night, and at a random time within the first couple of hours, he gets a phone call. So there is a chance that you can use some sort of cellular tower blocker to make sure that... I do like mobile phone jammer sort of thing that you can basically keep him there just a little bit longer, and then
little bit longer, because he's sort of he's another person that's almost keeping the peace a bit and, like, making sure people aren't getting too drunk or making sure people aren't getting too rowdy.
So if you can keep him there without him checking his phone, he doesn't realise that his wife has called 15 times in the last hour trying to get him to come home.
Oh my God. So, is there a way you can keep him there the whole night somehow? Like, that's an Easter egg. Or if you just focus literally on that, as long as things don't get actually to, like, the end game as things are going on around you, you can keep him there the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
That's advanced play.
That's literally, I can have lots of fun as long as I keep him from finding out his phone. But then it goes into the Sierra style of you only know that you need to keep him there because you know what it's like when you failed.
I mean, maybe, like, you can set it up that he's waiting for the call beforehand. And then as long as you set up that he is having a positive influence on things, and you could make some of the mechanics, relatively explicit. It could literally be like, he's got an area of effect thing that, like, reduces, I don't know, something around it or whatever. You can make it obvious. And so then there is an incentive to keep him around.
He's got a responsible service of alcohol area of effect around him that the bartender must abide by responsible service of alcohol rules while he's there. But the second that he's out of the range, that is basically selling more alcohol, just trying to.
Oh yeah, he casts Zone of Sobriety.
Okay, I reckon we can click again.
Yeah, let's move on. That was cool. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Improving income.
Shot formation.
This is the same game, but you play the bartender, and it's like the formation of the shots on your tray, and to sell the most of them.
Oh god!
No, we don't have to do that. I mean, improving income is a very generic mechanic. It could be adapted to almost anything. So, shot formation.
I'm just wondering if this is a game that's sort of all based off of around Zoom meetings, where you're trying to get a little bit better at your job, and that sort of stuff. Effectively,
so this is completely not where you were going, but you said Zoom meetings, and then I'm picturing all the squares on the screen, and then I just had an interesting thought of like a very surreal game where, depending on where the squares are, they'll affect each other in different ways. Like, like someone spills water on the top one and it goes down and like affects the people below them.
Okay, I don't care about my words anymore. I love this idea. I want to see, how this could actually play into it, because I'm now imagining, a beautiful scene where someone's got like a nice oil painting or something like that in the background, and then that water, gets spilled, and it just makes all the oil paint run or whatever.
Oil run, yeah. And then that means that the oil runs sideways into like someone else's scene and like gets on their shirt and they have to leave. And yeah, it's almost a puzzle game of
a Rube Goldberg contraption of making sure things actually flow into the next.
So you mentioned you've been watching Mythic Quest?
Yeah.
Have you watched up to season 2 yet?
No, not yet.
Oh no, sorry, not season 2. There's the in-between ones, that they did a quarantine episode.
No.
Okay.
Still in the first season.
So it's not a like particularly huge spoiler, but they essentially do a Rube Goldberg machine across Zoom.
Oh,
where
nice.
they set it up between the different screens and stuff. But I think it's that sort of vibe, except it's like a magical realism kind of thing of like you're actually you're making these things appear into the different screens based on what's
I'm
correct.
picturing that this is actually just a more real version of like Pipe Dream, where you're getting the right pipe in place that you can kind of
Yeah, it's hard to know.
and you can twist them round. You can
rotate them.
You can do the little rotate thing, and people will just rotate.
They like fall to the side.
Onto the side.
Is gravity affected?
I think so. I think that'd be quite funny.
I wonder if it's a bit more. I like that. I like it a lot. I like that. Essentially, you're like in these Zoom calls, and you realize that what you do on your screen is affecting everyone else. But I wonder if you make it a little bit more story based, in that you've got levels that are somewhat handmade, where it's like there's a solution or multiple solutions to this, but it's based on the very specific people who are doing very specific things in each thing. Like, so you've got so-and-so up here who has a cat and also has a glass of water on their desk. It's like, okay, if you can get away to like, just like get that cat up on the desk, then like it'll knock the water over.
Ooh, I'm now picturing that this person with a cat is right on the side, and you notice that the cat kind of goes off to the side and leaves and comes back, and you go, I wonder if I move it over here, and it goes into the next person's screen.
It goes into the next
person's screen and then back, and it's like, ooh, you can actually, I
mean, that could be just a good, simple way of like setting up the thing. I like the idea of, someone's got like a disco lights background that they've set up. And that if you put that next to the cat like runs into that room or like goes fast in that direction or something, or like maybe runs right through, slides through, and then that's how you can get him into someone else's that otherwise they wouldn't go into. Yeah,
and especially if you happen to have, well, I think in presentation mode of some of these programs, you can actually get a laser pointer. I like the idea that you can use that laser pointer to actually interact with the cat. Anyway. You guide them into the person who has cat allergies.
Yeah.
Because they sneeze and then that causes papers to go everywhere that then go into someone else's... Well, maybe it goes into someone else's area when they're looking for the certain report, and they're just continually looking for the report.
Yeah. Well, I think you've essentially got a goal in each meeting that either is set at the beginning of the meeting or becomes clear quite quickly as the meeting progresses. And that, at certain points you just have to figure out how to rearrange these things. And I like the idea of like backgrounds coming into it. And I think you have to, at certain points, like have conversations as well. Like if you get called upon for something, it's like, oh shit, I need to like select some options, and if I wait too long, like something like some other thing is going to happen. Yeah. That's really cool. And then I think you just set it up as different levels where I don't know if you're getting like if you're trying to get yourself promoted up through the ranks or something, like somehow the whole game you managed to get promoted like 10 different ranks just over Zoom.
And our game a little while ago about the Olympus thing is like, wow, it's been a long day.
It's been a long day. A lot of meetings today. I now own this company, but
cool.
That's cool. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Shaped album.
Inhibited sexuality.
All right, here's my take on it. Again, thinking of obviously the lockdown location sort of thing. It's all set in like a radio DJ booth.
Okay, yep.
And I think physical vinyl, just for the fun of it. Maybe we set it in like the 70s or 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where the inhibited sexuality comes into it. We don't necessarily need to bring it in a major way. Maybe you're a teenager. Maybe it's like you're a teenage boy in your first DJ job or like at a college station or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just aspects of like maybe people are calling up and like being inappropriate to deal with.
Jeez, I'm just imagining like being a producer on a show where there's lots of calling people and all that sort of stuff, and having to have your finger on the button to mask the profanity and anything, and just be ready to cut off the caller at any moment just in case it gets weird.
Well, that could be interesting. But maybe you combine those things where you are taking calls. You're playing. You've got to have the next thing lined up and ready to go. The next song, but you're taking calls, and as you're taking calls, you have to be sitting there on the button, you have to be listening, because you've got that 3-second delay or whatever it is, and you have to time it right, and you get scored based on how much profanity makes its way through.
Okay, so it's a Richard Mercer-esque sort of love line thing with love songs and dedications with Richard Mercer.
Yep.
And you're just the producer that has to, like, continually be on the ball for when people call up. Like, you got to screen the caller. You got to screen callers.
Well, I think again, just to give the player more to do. I think we conflate the two jobs. Like, obviously, yes, in a real situation, you have the DJ and you'd have the producer.
Mm.
But I feel like you want to at least be like doing the music and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I mean, obviously,
like. I think the producer, their thing is getting the next music track ready to roll.
Right. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Get screening callers.
Yeah.
Monitoring the call that's actually going on to make sure that there's no profanity and all this sort of stuff. And also having to deal with, a snobby...
The personality of the radio.
Of the radio host
I like that.
During songs, like...
All right. Okay, I like that because I'm picturing...
Again, a spinning plate sort of thing, but...
Yeah, well, a bit. Yeah, I'm almost... I think less of spinning plates. I think more of... trying to think of some examples. Because I'm sort of picturing... almost more of just an atmospheric sort of... Not quite a narrative, necessarily a full-on narrative thing. But I just the scenery of sitting there at a, I think, like I said, I think in the 70s or 80s... Like, it's not super modern. It's not this super modern digital desk. It's like you've got your different faders and different things. So you are having to, like, fade between songs or, like, bring the song down as the DJ, like, DJ's ready to start up again. He's there on the other side of the glass. There's, like, a haze of smoke because he's just constantly smoking in there. And so I'm just picturing this, like, cool, like, smoky lights and stuff. Because, yeah, he's an asshole, basically.
And you're playing a character that's kind of like Roz from Frasier.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the idea that this Richard Mercer, whatever guy, is occasionally... He just changes the order of like the love songs and dedications that sort of come in, or as you screened the call and they said, yeah, I want to dedicate this song, and so you get that song ready. And then they change it, and you've got to kind of like, queue up the record and
yeah, you got to quickly like find it, and yeah. I feel like you've got some fairly simple, like you've got like 4 boxes of records, and it's like A to F, G to K, or whatever it is, right? Like you've got them sorted out, and so it's just you've just got to pull it by the artist or something. It's like, okay, you got to grab the right one. If you've got one that's coming up and you grab from that box, you'll get the right one, but you have to grab the right box. So it's just that little bit of cognitive load that you have to deal with. And then, you have to like put it down. You have to get it spinning. You have to be ready to like, to get it in the right position and fade it up or whatever. And then, like something might get changed out from underneath here. But yes, and then you're getting callers in. I think maybe they even just come up on a screen or something. Or maybe you do listen to, like, you've just got a little one-way conversation that they start talking to you. And maybe you have to, like, flag them in certain ways. It's like, okay, no, we're definitely not putting this person in the air. Or, yes, we will, but, like, this is one to be cautious about because you know that Danny... What's the fucking DJ's name? We've just got to come up with something.
Danny Durser.
What would a fucking nighttime love songs DJ be called?
Danny DeVito.
He's just called like
Danny Hart.
Danny Hart. There you go. Hart.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You're on Love Songs and Dedications with Danny Hart.
Danny Hart. My heart goes out to you.
That's his tagline
That's his tagline. Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's like thank you.
But you know that he's got certain triggers, right? Like whatever that is, and so you have to maybe flag for that and be, so it might even be that he requires you to let him know ahead of time if there are certain aspects about a call so that he is ready for it.
Okay, it's a papers, please sort of thing that you're going over numerous nights.
Yeah.
And basically, each thing kind of only runs for five minutes or whatever. And you're getting through as many callers, a few songs and all that sort of stuff. Effectively, your first night, nice and easy. But then in your pre-show briefing, he sort of says... Oh, we had so many people calling up about such and such last night.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk to anyone about those.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anymore.
Bringing in those extra things that you have to check for. Yeah, that's in a very papers please or not tonight kind of way. Yeah, that's cool.
And I think it's got a kind of a Five Nights at Freddy's feel to it as well, because it's sort of like you got one sort of view that you're looking at.
Yeah. And you can switch between a few different views.
Yeah, I kind of see that you've got kind of like a scrolling screen that you can sort of go between, sort of like looking out here to see if you've got a caller, looking in front of you to
see Danny behind the glass,
to see Danny behind the glass.
And that's where your like profanity button is.
Your profanity button, and then over on the right hand side, so left, center, and then on the right hand side, you've got all the records,
the music,
and so they're basically your 3 different places, but I
and
like the idea.
You've got Danny there in your ear the whole time, and so you have to be listening out. Like he's talking to the caller, you're over here setting up the next music, and the caller like drops the F-bomb. You're like, oh shit, 2, 1, be like hold down the profanity button, like you cut it out. Okay, got it. All right, but what was I doing? Back to this.
You can either do it that way, or where you got your profanity button, you've actually got like a list of the words that have actually come up, and it's a simple system that you can just select on this old thing the words that you want to censor.
I like the timing aspect of it though, like because that adds something to it to be able to be, oh shit, I need to switch back to my middle thing and quickly press that button. And I mean, maybe you've got like 7 seconds or something, and perhaps you might even have a transcript running by or something of like where it's at from the perspective of like where the delay is at or something like that. Or maybe you can switch, maybe you have to switch over. That might add some complexity, but like you can switch over to the real, like to the delayed version. So you've just heard it over here. It's like, oh shit. All right. Switch to the 7-second delay. Okay. He said fuck after this. All right. There. He said this. All right. Block it. Whatever. You have to like remember
the words leading up to it.
Even that could be one of the things you add. It's like, oh, now you're not just blocking profanity. You have to block like certain other words that now you're also having to keep an ear out for.
The network doesn't want to say anything about brands.
Yes, exactly.
They don't want advertising without getting paid for it. So now if anyone rings up talking about, these fake brands, you must censor these as well. Like,
but then like the next night, it's like, well, Jemima Cola has bought advertising with us, so now they can say that on the air, but not the other ones. So you have to remember like what advertising deal. And I mean, you can again, you've got the like cheat sheet there on one of the sections, but it's like you hear a brand, it's like, oh shit, is that one being advertised by us?
I hate to do this to us, but I want to. This is the game for the night.
This is the game. This is the rest of the night.
This is the rest of the night. Sorry, listeners, but
well, we'll see. I think there is more we can dig into here. I do like this as a Papers, Please-esque in the DJ booth.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the challenge would be the content.
Yes.
Right? Especially because you need it all to be recorded voice content, essentially. I mean, I guess technically you could maybe like text-to-speech it or something, but to really get the atmosphere down, there's a lot of voice work involved.
Yeah. Okay. Some of the callers are regular callers, and then you get the occasional long-time listener, first-time caller sort of people.
Yep.
Occasionally, when you pick up the phone, you just hear heavy breathing. And oh crap, just hang this guy up straight away.
Is this going to be then an ongoing story kind of
like in Papers, Please, you keep on getting that one guy who comes in with a really dodgy passport and then
obviously fake stuff, and you can choose whether or not. Oh, so in that case, when you get this heavy breathing person the first time, can you choose to just put him on the air?
Yeah, of course you can.
What happens? You just like lose. Does that just cuts that storyline short for this run through? You lose money that day or something because
basically
they didn't actually say anything. Or
basically they come on and go, Danny, fucking love you. It's like, oh damn it, more profanity.
It's just a huge stream of profanity that you have to
beep out the entire thing.
Beep out as much as you can.
Danny, you owe me fuck tons of money from your drug habit and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, no.
Yeah. Because I like that at the end of a day, you get scored for things like the amount of dead air that you had because you didn't have tracks lined up, or because, in this case, you decided to just fucking hold that sensor button through his whole thing because you knew shit was going down, but then that counts as like dead air or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you get a grade or something from
later
Danny,
on.
Or you get feedback from Danny.
Later on, you get a cut to song button, and you can cut off and go straight to song.
Yeah,
but then that's going to piss off Danny because he doesn't like being cut off. Yeah, and so now you got to deal with him, like, and his ego sort of thing. And I'm picturing.
Yeah, well, then, no, go on.
Yeah, I'm picturing how annoyed he starts getting, and so he starts going a little bit, a little bit more in depth and trying to bring out a little bit more profanity from people and all this sort of stuff, and basically just trying to make your job harder. Yeah,
I do like the idea of essentially one of the lose states being that you piss Danny off too much, he fires you, or
he goes to the network's the station manager and gets you fired.
Yeah,
I'm just picturing that. You could do so much with like the network manager coming in going, oh, we're trying to move away from some of these other songs. Can you find like a country song to cut to or something like that? And they're trying to rebrand as a country station or something like that. Like,
yeah, trying out different things. And again, like you have to balance. Ooh. You know that Danny Hart hates country music. So do you do what the network exec wants or do you do what Danny wants? And it depends on who you've pissed off the most up to this point.
Later on, the network exec comes in and says, we're not allowed to play any more, of this artist. And every single love song dedication is this artist. And you have to find like a cover version. Or something like that.
Or you just have to find like an appropriate replacement.
And because obviously the network haven't really told Danny that he's not allowed to get people to choose this song.
I think the network's afraid of Danny just as much as you are. Like he's a force of nature in that totally like toxic way. But yeah, you have to deal with that.
I'm just wondering if later on you actually have kind of like the button that you can switch back on his microphone and get him back on. You've got to then route the caller in and then route it, like make sure the right one's being routed in.
Again, like I kind of like in that Papers, Please way, and Not Tonight has this as well. You start off where the requirements are fairly simple, but your mechanics are a bit more complex. So yeah, maybe you do have to plug different things together. You have to do a bit more. And then as the requirements boost up, you get helpers that make it easier for you to actually like do the mechanical pieces of getting a song on, like you said, cut directly to song. Or, I mean, it might even be that like 4 nights in, you switch away from vinyl into fucking digital or whatever it is. Like, maybe, if we're sitting in the 70s, 80s, obviously not digital, but whatever. Like you set it in the 90s and you get a CD spinner of 200 discs or something. Like, you can just then choose it from a computer rather than having to find it, right? Or something like that.
I'll tell you what, though, that is still not an easy thing to do at speed. Because I've had to deal with that.
Well, I mean, you'd have to design it in a way that was easy enough, but not too easy. But yes, no, I don't think having to select between 200 CDs in a fucking stacker is very
any easier.
I think you'd have to have a custom system for this one.
I think that there's just a lot that you can get away with in a game like this, like just having to. I think the reason why you get more things to do is because the manager comes in and goes, okay, so network cutbacks have meant that you now are dealing with music as well as screening the callers. And then
that could be fun then, because the first time you're there, you've got just one screen that you're dealing with. There are people at the other ones doing their jobs. And then the next night, well, one of them got laid off. Oh, shit, now I've got to do their job too.
Oh, one of them just called in sick. So they can come back the next night, but then, you know...
But then the other person... To give you a taste of each job before you have to start doing more than one at once. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, from poor performance because this person wasn't selecting the right records, we've decided that, you know, you're now going to also be handling that. We think that you'll be fine. Network cutbacks have meant that we're not allowed to, you know, display advertisers anymore, so you now have to watch out for this while changing music, while screening callers. But don't worry, we've got someone else on the profanity button for tonight.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Yeah. Exactly. Like, introduce them to each added bit.
And maybe even they can do the profanity button at the start. You know, that's their one job that they're doing, and then they get a reprieve from it for a little while, and then they've got to do it again with something else, and you can sort of just vary it up the first few nights.
That would all sort of depend on the pacing, and you'd probably have those first few nights be a bit shorter as well, and then you might go longer over time. Especially as I guess, because I think the other thing is like developing the story in a way. I feel like Danny is getting more and more arrogant over time, slightly unhinged, you know, making more demands that you're having to deal with. And I mean, maybe the goal is, and I thought you were going to say this earlier, you've got control over when he's going to air, and so you have to like specifically make him have one of his rants that he usually does while the music's on, like have that broadcast as an accident, air quotes.
Well, yeah, I did say that you get to cut off his mic, but it also means that you get to put him back on. And
right, yeah, you were saying you
can do the
opposite,
count back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think, I accidentally hit the switch that put him on over the air. And, like, maybe that would get you fired too. But, like, one of the endings essentially can be, like, you take him down with you.
Ooh. Kind of along the lines of something that they did in Papers, Please, is some of the callers that call in are calling in for you to do something. They're, like, ex-station employees that basically say...
Right.
If you're in solidarity with us, play this song the next time that they do a love song and dedication and all this sort of stuff. Yep. And it's like...
Yeah.
You know,
again, very much pulling from that Papers, Please thing of like, you can go against the establishment to sort of go down a particular storyline and maybe get certain benefits while obviously losing, you know, respect or whatever our sort of currency is in that way, from the station itself. And yeah, there's this basically this cabal of ex-employees who fucking all got fired by Danny, who want you to undermine him constantly. I'm
picturing that, like, if they ask you to let certain swear words go to air, but only certain ones, and it's like, we're going to have someone call up. They'll be the third caller tonight, and I don't want you to press the profanity button at all.
Yeah.
When that happens, then the station manager, you know, comes up and they're knocking on the door, and you can maybe snip the door at some stage. Like, they're trying to break in, and there's
how long is this profane rant? Yeah, that's cool. I like the idea of they're going to call up as a fake caller to get Danny to say a particular sentence, but you need to block certain words of the sentence so that it sounds like he says something else.
just beep out like a you know, a very
or you know, a negation
a very particular word to make it sound like he's being really, really nasty to people and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think one of the fun things that could happen is that if you press the profanity button too often, like too much, like you're really hammering it, it actually breaks.
It breaks.
So all you've got to do now is you can drop the call.
Right, you can choose to drop call. Can you manually like fade the audio in and out?
Well, that's another thing that could be fun. That's another thing that could be fun. Like, some people talk very, very quietly, so you got to like, push that up.
Yeah, you've just got particular levels that you have to be meeting for each thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's a That's even cooler. Like, and then if they're getting too loud, then you got to be able to pull it down again and all this sort of stuff. And
yeah, if they start getting angry,
and when Danny starts going on his rant and starts yelling, you got to pull him down and get him down below the red. And
yeah, I like that idea a lot because it's just, I mean, that is a bit more of the plate spinning thing, but it's really based on having to listen, right? It's based on, oh shit, like, because you might be over fixing the music or something. It's like, oh, he's started yelling, like I need to come back here and pull him down, because essentially you get graded at the end of each night for, how much in the correct zone every track was, basically.
Yeah, and I think you've got yellow, green and red, which is different to how a lot of actual audio things are set up. They're usually green and then yellow and then red, but you want them in that green zone, like
you want them in the green zone, yeah.
So by having yellow and like a couple of bars in green and then all red above could actually be quite interesting. I'm just wondering what other sort of disagreements could Danny have.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's essentially a diva, right? Like, he just has these very specific things that he wants of his show. He considers himself an artist. He's an artist of the art form of late night fucking love song dedications. So yeah, I don't know if he has. Maybe it's around like particular types of calls he wants for a particular night, because he's painting his tapestry of love.
I'm painting my tapestry of love. Could you please make sure it's not a sausage party again tonight?
Exactly. Like, you need to switch up, who they're asking things for, like their tone, like, too many desperate, unrequited loves have been calling in. I want, more old married couples renewing their love for each other, or whatever, right? Like, just the types or the ages or the the actual relationships involved.
Basically, it's the theme of the night. Like, he sets the theme, and then people call up, and you're trying to then weed through. Oh, this person calls up all the time, but they're a young couple. Like, you need to then
you've sort of got pros and cons based on what he's asked for in any particular night.
But of course, he's waiting for a call, and if all you've got is young couples, you've got to sort of choose the oldest one out of them.
Yeah, I think you've essentially got. You might have to tell the player ahead of time, like how long a call's going to be, even though obviously that's not realistic in the real world. But you essentially say, okay, this is a 20-second call. People will call up and come up, and they'll only wait for 7 seconds or something before you decide to put them on the air, or if you've, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, before you lose them as an opportunity. So it's like, okay, I could take this person to put on the air after this call, even though they don't quite fit the, as much of the requirements as I want, or I could try my luck and see if the next, one of the other calls that comes through in the next 15 seconds is going to be better. If none of them do, though, like, it could be worse, and this person will have hung up because you waited too long. So it's sort of balancing that as well.
Do you think that your call screening screen comes up with some basic information? So
yes,
age,
yes.
Names.
I think it would actually be too much. I don't think you have a audio aspect to the call screening, because I think that would be too hard to be listening to Danny and listening to these calls. I think it is more a visual thing, and so you've essentially got. It's essentially as if there's a third person who's actually talking to them and presenting this information to you in some way, but they come up on your screen as...
I love the idea that it used to be handled by a person, but now it's just handled by a call screening robot.
So sometimes it doesn't understand, and it doesn't understand human feelings. So, well, maybe that's something that happens later on, or like on one night. One night, they're like, oh yeah, like, we fired the person who was putting the information in. We've got this new call screening robot, and it all goes to shit because the robot does not understand human feelings. And then the next night, they're like, oh fuck, that didn't work out. We hired the other person back
at a much higher rate. So because of that,
so we had to
we've cut your budget. So therefore,
exactly.
You're now doing this as well.
Yeah, that's a great way for that, because then you can have a really funny night where all the calls are coming up with like full names, addresses, GPS coordinates, blood type, but nothing about what they want to say in the call or who they like.
So much useless information that you can't like get your head around.
yeah, you can't actually really determine whether they're a good caller or not.
There is just so many cool things, so many cool ways that you could go about this, and depending on like how well you do depends on Danny's trust level of you. Like, yeah, because I kind of think that if you screwed him over a few times, then he's not going to accept as much. Like if you're having a bad night. Yeah,
well, again, I think it's and we're talking about this a lot, but it's very much following the formula. In Papers, Please, you had money was a factor, but then obviously you had there was like the faction that was trying to do stuff where you could get different rewards and different things that might pay off to more money in the end, or you might have to sacrifice money to get. You had the health of your family, which obviously money came into that too, but you could also, I think you could get improvements or whatever that helped. I can't fully remember, but yeah, you're essentially balancing these different needs. And so in this case, yes, it would be like Danny's respect of you, the station's respect of you, and those are often going to be at odds with each other. And that, I mean, the station respect of you is going to come, there could be monetary aspects involved, in that.
If you piss Danny off too many times, he may start getting drunk. Like earlier and earlier, and have more and more alcohol, and then that turns into a shit show of its own, because basically it's almost like Duck Season, which had different endings. That
I think that, yes, I think you'd essentially weave different storylines throughout it, which can be cut off by certain, it's like
interactions.
If you've already pissed Danny off too much, then that's like this other storyline can't happen, but the one where he starts getting drunk more and more often could. And it could just manifest as particular calls that will come in on certain nights that otherwise wouldn't, or something like that.
And
or particular interactions.
I really like that way that Stress Point Zero put those different trophies in. That's like, okay, yep, I've hit these different endings. Yeah. I kind of like the idea that behind you is like a trophy
You've actually
cabinet,
got your little trophy wall,
or whatever, or it's
certificates or something,
certificates or something up on your wall. And effectively, you could have numerous different endings throughout the game, depending on which one you actually focus on. It gives you an idea of, this time I want to go for this ending, and that
there's like a good Danny ending, there's a bad Danny ending. There's the ending with the ex-employees. There's the you just follow the station line ending sort of thing. Then there's some other weird ones or different sort of. There's storylines based on a particular caller, whether like the heavy breathing caller or whatever. You can sort of, if you do the right things, you can sort of follow that storyline to its conclusion. These might not all be different endings. It might just, like, to the whole game. It might just be, you followed that storyline to its conclusion because you sacrificed the right things that were necessary to keep that going. That's really cool. I was slightly dubious when you said that we were going to keep on this game, but that was 20 minutes ago, and with this, that's great. There's a lot we can do there. I kind of liked it. I kind of like this going deep on one game every week, because if we get excited about something, it's fun to just really explore all those possibilities.
Again, yes, the audio thing that could become a little bit hard to actually do as a
to actually produce
the game. But I think a lot of the other things we could physically do. Like,
it's just about building the nice environment.
All you need for Danny is like a silhouette. Like, you don't even need to ever see him. The door off to the side. Again, the
especially
blinds
with
down
the smoke. The smoky thing. You could have one simple animation of him there, kind of talking and smoking, basically, just in silhouette. Oh, that'd be really cool.
I absolutely love this idea.
I really like the atmosphere of that game too. That's really cool.
That's it for tonight.
Yeah,
thank you, everyone.
I think with that, we'll end it there. I hope you listeners are enjoying these deep dives, because we certainly are having fun with them. If you're not, we've got 200 plus episodes at podchaser.com/bitstorm that you can listen to, where mostly we don't do deep dives. We just jump, from one 10-minute riff onto another. But let us know what you like. Leave us a review. Tell us if you like these better, if you like the others better. Whatever. Let us know.
Cool. And we'd like to thank Kurudos for allowing us to use their song Mount Defiance off the album Containment Failure as our opening and closing number every single week.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm riding the mechanical bull. Woo!